It was 30 years ago that we first saw Miss Scarlet, Colonel Mustard, Mrs. Peacock, Professor Plum, Mr. Green, and Mrs. White all on screen. They were all summoned to a mysterious mansion known as Hill House for a deadly game of murder, all headed up by a curious butler. It was clever, it was funny, had multiple endings, and it had Tim Curry running around like a madman. I love that movie. On this episode of Remake This Movie Right, we are giving Clue the remake treatment. The best part about this remake is that you don't have to have seen the original. The board game revolves around 6 people in a house, 1 dead body, a multitude of rooms, secret passages, and a bunch of murder weapons. This movie can go anywhere, and it's about to. So grab your candlestick, head over to the conservatory, because we're about to tell you who should make this, and where, and with what. It's about time to remake the movie Clue right. Wait a tick. Somebody at the door?
Da-da-da-da-da-da. I am your singing telegram.
Hello, my fellow cinematic architects, and welcome to Remake This Movie Right. We are a member of the Hollywood Outsider Network. You can listen to episodes of Remake This Movie Right on iTunes, where reviews are appreciated, or your podcast app of choice, or just visit the website at RemakeThisMovieRight.com. Remake This Movie Right is a show where we take an original film that has an actual remake in the works, figure out what still clicks and what doesn't, throw a bit of humor at it, and then we determine exactly how Hollywood should remake it. So by the end of each episode, we will have the remake ready to roll for Hollywood execs and present it to you in movie trailer form. We are here to tell Hollywood how to remake this movie right. I am your host, Aaron Peterson, and joining me today are Brian Williams.
Good evening.
Good evening. I guess you could get a little Alfred Hitchcock on that. That would fit our movie this week. And Amanda Sink.
Hello, hello.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
All right. What we are going to talk about this week is one of my favorite movies, and these two are split. I don't know if they're split, but they're not with me, that this is one of the best movies ever made. That's all right. Not everybody can be right all the time.
Like you.
Yeah. We're going to talk about the 1985 classic, who's coming up on his 30th anniversary, by the way. Clue. Who saw Clue when it came out?
I wasn't even alive.
Okay. I guess you did not. Brian, did you see it when it came out? I hate young people. Young people suck, by the way.
Honestly, I don't remember. I don't remember if I saw it when it came out. Probably, but...
He's too old to even remember.
Yeah, I'm on the other end of the spectrum.
Are you a fan of this one? Amanda, I think, just saw it. So did you?
No, I've seen it before. I just re-saw it recently. It's good. I just wouldn't consider it to be one of the best ever. I mean, but I still like it. It has good humor in it and everything. The cast isn't very attractive.
What? You're really stuck on their appearance. What is the deal with how attractive they are? What does it matter?
They have the maid, Yvette, or whatever she is, and she is super cute. And then they have the rest of the cast. And that's all I'll say.
I think Madeline Kahn is an attractive lady, Mrs. White. And Miss Scarlet, I think, was, wow. She's randy.
Nada.
No?
None
all
of
right.
them.
Brian, what about you?
Wow.
Did you think this movie had attractive people in it? Because apparently that's what we're concerned about.
That's what I would say.
This is where me and Amanda kind of differentiated a little bit, because I agree with the maybe the general statement that it's not loaded with pretty people. Mm-hmm. However, Yvette is not the only good-looking chick there. So I agree. Miss Scarlet was attractive, and Mrs. White, she was not a bad looker herself. Of course, she's all emoed out, but
yeah, I like the darkness. That's what it comes down to. And really, they cast comedians. They were going for comedy, so they don't go for, your Chris Hemsworth and whatnot. They wanted people that are funny, and these people are funny.
No, they're definitely funny. I guess I just, when I think of Scarlet, when I envision Scarlet, I envision her to be like Scarlett Johansson Scarlet, like that gorgeous. Just very sexy and alluring. And
I think Leslie Ann Warren had it going on at that time. I'm sorry.
I'm glad I wasn't around in that time then.
She did it for me.
You know Carrie Fisher was originally supposed to play her?
Really?
Yeah, Carrie Fisher. Princess Leia. And then she went into rehab like a couple days before shooting started. And Leslie Ann Warren, that's a true story according to IMDb. I don't know.
I thought you were making it up.
Why would I come up with Carrie Fisher? Just randomly, of all the people on the planet, Carrie Fisher's the one that I would think of.
Hey, look, Star Wars it's hot right now.
It is hot right now.
That's true. That is true.
Star Wars on the brain.
Well, let's talk about the movie Clue. We always talk about some fun facts. And I do want to say before we get into this one, this is one movie where I'm really excited because it could go anywhere. The way that they chose to do the original film, we don't have to do anything remotely similar. That's fantastic because normally these have such nostalgic value to people that they refuse to budge. They don't want to hear, they're not being open-minded. Like Pet Sematary, man, people were angry. Seem to
Sorry
like the
about it.
episode, but they got angry about it. Well, how could you? You can't have that sister in the house. It's against the rules and all that sort of thing. So this one's a little more open. I like that. All right, you guys ready for some fun facts on Clue?
I'm ready if you're ready.
Bring it.
All right, via IMDb.com. First off, it made $14.6 million. Not a hit at all. Became a hit on VHS, but December 13th, 1985. So like I said, 30th anniversary is coming up. Woohoo! That's pretty cool.
Woo.
Okay, I'm glad I'm alone. Movie centered, it was focused in 1954 in New England is where it took place. 6 guests are invited to a strange house and must cooperate with the staff to solve a murder mystery. It was directed by Jonathan Lynn and starred Tim Curry, Christopher Lloyd, Madeline Kahn, many other gifted comedians. Definitely a great cast, in my opinion, just not attractive. The floor in the hall resembles the Clue game board, which I didn't know until I saw this. Then I went and watched the movie again. I'm like, holy crap, it does.
I'm going to have to look for that next time.
Sneaky.
With the exception of Professor Plum, who actually wears a purple vest and suit, all of the other dinner guests are wearing clothes or accents that are the opposite of their respective pseudonym colors on the color wheel. Like Mrs. White is wearing a black jacket, etc., and so forth.
Yeah, Miss Scarlet was wearing a green dress.
See?
The Colonel Mustard
Was wearing a red
His
tie.
was-
He was wearing a red tie. Yellow, red.
I don't think you
Okay.
took art class.
Yep, red is the opposite of yellow. Shut up, Brian. It works. All right. After the production concluded, the mansion set was bought and redecorated by the producers of Dynasty, who used it as the Carlton Hotel.
Wow.
Is that wow, like that's cool, or wow, who cares?
For me, it's cool. I mean, for Amanda, she's like, what's Dynasty?
Also before you were born, apparently.
All the good stuff was.
Really? You're 12? Is that what you're
No.
telling me? Because there's an age limit, I think, on this. Professor Plum hypothesizes to the group that the brandy was poisoned. In the original Cluedo, which was called originally Cluedo, board game, poison was included among the possible weapons and later reintroduced in the 1990s game Clue Master Detective. You're not sounding jazzed about my special fun
I think
facts.
you're just over enthusiastic.
All right, now lastly, here is the one I thought was really exciting, and so far I haven't been right yet. Let's hope this one is a little more jazzy, guys. Okay, there was a 4th ending filmed. Did you know that?
No, I didn't. Now we're getting interested.
Wow, there we go. Now we're getting
Actually,
interested.
yes, I did.
Did you know that? You
Yep.
suck. Man.
Well, at least I had
No,
some
but
interest.
it is a cool story. It is a cool story. So please continue.
Okay. There's a 4th ending film where Wadsworth accuses Professor Plum of killing Mr. Body and Mrs. Peacock of killing the cook. But Plum correctly deduces that the reason Wadsworth knows who murdered Mr. Body and his 5 informants is because Wadsworth murdered everyone himself. Wadsworth reveals he had poisoned all the guests with a slow-acting toxin he put in their drinks, and then he runs to every room in the house that has a working telephone, and he rips them out of the wall one by one. And he is interrupted when the doorbell rings, and he's met by the undercover chief of police, who disarms Wadsworth with a punch to the gut after Wadsworth attempts to shoot him. The guests tell the chief and the policeman with him Wadsworth did it all, and Wadsworth starts to reenact how he did it, only to slip out of the door and lock them all in a hill house. The police break the conservatory window to get out with the guests, and Wadsworth drives off only to have the dogs he had at the doghouse and conservatory window are in the backseat and growling at him, about to attack him. The ending was rejected for being too dark and also to keep the film's allowed running time.
I kind of like that it went a little bit darker.
I like that it went a little bit darker, but I don't like that really it wasn't any of the people that it should have been.
Right.
I don't like that. Actually, I don't think
Well-
Wadsworth should have killed anybody.
90% of the movie is fairly light, and then all of a sudden you end it on this really kind of dark and heavy note.
Everyone's going to die.
Well, you'd have to make
Just
the
kinda-
entire film darker to make it work. Then it would take out the humor. Well, you could have dark humor. But
That's really dark. Like, from what if I'm reading this right, Brian, everybody dies because he poisoned them all, right?
Correct.
That doesn't sound like a fun movie. I guess it depends on how annoying you found them. If they're unattractive, it's good.
that makes it okay to poison people. As long as they're
Genetically,
ugly.
apparently, we're okay with killing people. I don't know.
I'm not saying it's okay to kill ugly people.
That's kind of where you were going. That's what I got. That's what I heard. All right, let's hear a clip from Clue.
I'm afraid your moment has come.
Not so fast, Miss Scarlet. I do have a secret or two.
Oh, yeah, such as?
The game's up, Scarlet. There are no more bullets left in that gun.
Oh, come on, you don't think I'm gonna fall for that old trick?
It's not a trick. There was one shot at Mr. Body in the study, 2 for the chandelier, 2 at the lounge door, and 1 for the singing telegram.
That's not 6.
1 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1.
There was only one shot that got the chandelier. That's 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1.
Even if you were right, that would be 1 plus 1 plus 2 plus 1, not 1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1.
Okay, fine. 1 plus 2 plus 1. Shut up! The point is, there's 1 bullet left in this gun, and guess who's gonna get it?
I love this movie!
Are you okay over there?
I love this movie. I don't know how you don't love this movie, but let's talk about what you do love about the movie. How about that? You don't like ugly people, but...
That's not what I'm saying.
What is it about this movie that you love so much? Is it the nostalgia from 30 years ago? Is it something that got your brain running as a kid, or is it something that maybe didn't work for you then but paid off for you later?
No, here's what it is. I love mysteries. My favorite book in the whole wide world is The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes by Arthur Conan Doyle. And I love mysteries, especially well-constructed ones. I also like, what was that? Murder by Numbers, I think it was, in the late 70s. Is that the name of that one? You know what I'm talking about? Okay.
Yep.
I just love where you have groups of people and they're trapped in a building and they have to figure out who did something. I love that. Trapped on a train, trapped on...
I'm with you so far.
Okay. So when I went to see this movie originally, I loved the board game, loved the mystery concept, was a huge fan of the board game. I had no idea how you're going to make a board game entertaining, especially because I expected it to be just another murder mystery that I've seen 1,000 times. And then you get there and it's really funny. I mean, they had a lot of laughs. Tim Curry was so energetic. The entire concept I thought was brilliant at the time. How you take the characters and you put them in this mystery. You orchestrate events to make it make sense why they would all be here. You give a scenario that gives them a good reason to go by pseudonyms, to not go by their actual names. Why they would stay in the house until they found the killer. You have someone that's basically composer. He's the guy leading the symphony. He's showing you where everything is. He does the entire play-by-play at the end. He solves the mystery. And basically you have a composer who is the person playing the game. To me, I thought that was just brilliant. Wadsworth was basically us playing the game. And we're getting to watch all these characters as there's people dropping. And they made a movie out of it. And then you have the multiple endings, which was absolutely genius to me at the time, that I had to go to 3 different theaters to see all 3 endings.
I do like that.
That was, oh man, it was great. Expensive, but great. and I love that. And especially because there's a few holes if you really look at them, but most of the endings work. Most of the way that they orchestrated the endings worked. And the fact that they put all that thought into the screenplay and they made it fun and funny and it's centered around people dropping dead constantly. I mean, you've got cops getting murdered and you've got the motorist and you've got a poor booby woman getting strangled on a pool table. I mean, all that stuff, really, I just loved everything about it, man. It just, everything fired on all cylinders for me. This is one of my favorites of teenage years. That's my short answer. Yeah, I said short answer.
Is that what it is?
Yep.
For me, this was one of those that I think the nostalgia pretty much outweighed maybe the quality of it. This is one of those movies where I can see the bad reviews when it came out. I can kind of get the gist of that, but I can also see the cult following catching on with this movie also. The jokes seemed a little sitcomish.
Now, did they at the time or do they now? Because it's been 30 years, so a lot of the humor has been duplicated, replicated.
Probably a little bit of both. I mean, probably lean towards more of looking it through the eyes of a 40-plus-year-old. And it's been a long time since I've seen this movie because it wasn't one of my favorites. And I knew there was, at least I didn't see the different endings. I remember seeing it. I just don't know where I saw it, but I remember seeing only one ending. And then years later on VHS or something, seeing the different, alternate endings or all the endings put together, whatever the case is. So,
do you think you would have liked it more at the time if you had seen all 3 endings in theaters and it would have made it more nostalgic for you now?
Maybe. But even still, there's a sense like the movie with all these endings together, that they just said, well, we ran out of material, we ran out of jokes, we've kind of painted ourselves in a corner, but we still need about 7 or 8 more minutes. What can we do? Well, let's film some alternate endings, and it actually works. There's no other movie has done that to my knowledge,
which makes it more awesome. See, you guys are just missing the
I do like that part of it. That's actually one of my
Fantastic.
favorite things about it is that they have the alternate endings. I don't think that they were necessarily lacking material. I think they were just trying to be more unique. Also, it's probably going to help sales if you have different...
Well, you'd think.
you would
Turns
think.
out, nope.
Obviously, it didn't work out very well for them. But I mean, it's a good theory. I don't know. I like that part. Actually, that's one of my favorite things about it, other than the fact that it's based off the game, and I love the game. But I like that they have the different endings because I think it shows that they're more creative because they came up with all these different possibilities based off the same initial plot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it actually does play towards the board game itself. You can
Right.
have, depending on the random allocation of all the different pieces and cards, it could be this person with this weapon in this room and that person, whatever the case is. So it does kind of play into that, I guess, that randomness that you have with the board game. So, I mean, it's not that I don't like it. It's just that that's kind of almost how it felt.
Sure feels
by
like
the
you
time-
don't like it. I'm just saying. Way we're here, and it's like, oh,
Sorry, man. I'm just not,
tell us
dancing a
Eeyore.
jig with my, with my Wadsworth costume on while I'm
Yeah.
podcasting.
Like, obviously, Eeyore. Eeyore.
Is there anything that you really, really like about the movie, though?
Everything? Oh, I'm sorry, you're talking to Brian?
I'm talking to
Sorry.
Brian. Is there anything that stands out to you that you're just like, I really, really like this about the movie, even
Well,
if you're
you
not...
know, man, I really like everything.
Well, it's interesting you played that clip a second ago because that is one of my favorite parts of this movie are the wordplay that they have,
One's with
especially a
Staples.
couple of the scenes with Wadsworth and Colonel Mustard with this confusion, this ambiguity of answering yes or no
Yeah.
to a yes or no question, but you're not sure of which question you're answering. And then, so that confusion, I mean, that happens almost every day with people. So the quick banter, the wordplay stuff was one of my favorite parts of it.
Mrs. White, in particular, heaving breaths. Flames at the side of my
Flames on
face.
face.
Madeline Kahn. I love Madeline
That was
Kahn.
funny.
I love Madeline Kahn. Flies are where men are most vulnerable. That is one joke where it took me probably 8 viewings before I understood what she meant. Before I totally understand. Because I'm like, I don't get that joke. And then I'm like, oh, flies are where they're... Oh, yeah. Got it. We kind of talked about what you guys don't like about it, which I just don't understand. But so what no longer works for you? Like, not in terms of people aren't quite attractive, Amanda, or
You're making me
or
sound
the script
so
issues.
superficial.
When you're watching it again, in hindsight, what doesn't work anymore?
I feel like there's a lot of really good humor in the movie, but I feel like there's also a lot of forced humor, and I think that's what Brian was referring to earlier, was that some of the jokes seem to be forced. But not all of them. There's tons of good humor in there, but there are parts where you're just like, you probably should have strayed away from that and just been more serious. The music, I think, obviously doesn't work anymore. It's way back then, just doesn't work for now. But other than that, the people just don't... It's not that the people were ugly, it's just not what I envisioned them to look like. And so it just kind of took away from it. And I also don't like that they weren't wearing the color that their pseudonym was.
Like that really bothered you?
It did. I was like, well, Scarlet should be wearing red. Miss White should be wearing white. Because then I feel like then they're living their character more that they're supposed to show up as, rather than just, I don't know, mopey and Eeyore and just rebellious.
All right. Eeyore. So she was like, they were like Brian. That's what you're saying. What about you, Brian? What doesn't hold up?
It's for me. It's like Flash Gordon. Flash Gordon.
Whoa.
If I was to watch it
Whoa.
for the first time.
Whoa, sir. Whoa.
No.
Do not
if I was
compare
to-
my Clue masterpiece to your Flash Gordon. You keep
I
your...
love
Let Brian
that
speak.
movie. I love that movie, and I think it is very good on so many different levels. That being said, anybody watching it for the first time now would be laughing their ass off and probably turning it off in the first 15 minutes.
If they were not high as a kite, because that's the only way I could see enjoying that movie. And this,
With a little Mary J.
yeah, apparently, because that is a
Shrooms,
messed up.
something.
There's a reason why it was featured in Ted. That's all I'm saying.
Right. that struck a chord with me when I was a kid, and it stuck with me. And I just kind of feel like this is one of those movies, with the different endings. I think it was just one of those things to where people sought out. Oh, hey, they heard. I mean, because I didn't even understand. I didn't even know there was multiple endings to be seen.
Till when?
So till it came out on tape.
Yeah, they didn't advertise that very well. I mean, I knew because I kind of worked at a theater, so I knew, but I don't remember if
At
commercials.
12?
Yeah, whatever I was. I mean, no, I didn't work at a theater. You're right. Good call.
You were like,
I just went to the theater. Well, I was there so much, Brian. I don't know when I started.
he was helping clean up when he was still just going to visit. He got his free tickets
I was
that way.
just volunteering. Yeah.
look, there's
Volunteer
45
work.
minutes till the next movie I want to watch is on. If I help clean up, can I just go into the next screening?
I did. I remember I begged my mom to take me all the way across town. There was a mall probably 40 minutes from my house just so I could go to the mall and watch this movie again right after I had seen it. That didn't go over so well. She's like, we just paid to see it. Why the hell would I do that? Mom, it's a different ending. Oh, okay. That's worth it. It wasn't, apparently, but eventually got there.
So basically all the sales came from you.
I think all 14 million. I saw this movie at least 6 total times at 3 different theaters. I did not get to see all 3 endings in the theater, though.
I would have to go to like a completely other city to see a possibly different ending.
I'm curious how it worked, though, because obviously, I mean, I wasn't alive at the time. How did it work? How did you...
Well, keep reminding us all of that.
Was it like ending 1, clue ending 1, clue ending 2, clue ending 3, or was it just like a random selected...
It was basically how it was released was they sent the movie out, and it was playing it wherever it was playing at. It was playing wide. And you would go to a movie, and you had no idea which ending you would get.
Okay.
Now, some theaters, I think in major cities, they would advertise ending A, B, or C. And I think maybe small towns did not do that because they didn't, they only had like 1 showing of it. So you got whatever ending it was. But you didn't get all 3 of them. You just whatever movie you
Okay, so it was just
And I went
random.
to 3 different theaters and only got 2 endings. Nobody was going to drive an extra 80 miles so I could see that third one, hopefully see that third one.
Right.
It could have been better marked so we knew which theater to see which ending, but just didn't work out. But it was awesome. I still loved every showing I went to. Still love it. So the question goes to, and you guys said what you didn't like. I love everything about it. Still works.
There's
Love the
nothing
comedy.
you don't like about it?
Nothing.
Nothing at all.
Every single thing in that movie.
Some of the
you like.
humor is outdated, I guess. Some of it. But it all still works for me. To me, this is a glowing masterpiece. Yeah, I said it. Masterpiece. This is probably in my top 10 of all time. That's how much I love this movie. So go gentle. Now the question goes to, should this even be remade? Should Clue be remade?
Sounds like you're the one who needs to answer that, not us.
I'm asking, what do you think, Amanda?
I think it can be remade. I
right.
think there's no problem with it.
Brian?
Yeah, it should. Maybe should is not necessarily the right word, but could it stand to be remade? Absolutely. This is one of those that lends itself to being remade. It can be done in a number of different ways, different locations, all that stuff. It's one of those movies that, again, it's about the cult fans that love this movie, and you're not going to make them happy. If you just remake the movie itself, it's going to be constantly compared to the original. And if you do it something completely different, then you're disgracing the original movie.
I get that. For me personally, yes, it should be remade. It could be remade. Just don't remake this exact movie. That'd be my only thing. I know that sounds weird, but this particular movie, I think, worked perfectly the way it was. And Clue is a wonderful concept. It's a very simple board game. Basically, you find out who did it, where, with what. You could you could apply that concept, and we're going to do it here in a second, but you could apply that concept to any kind of genre, comedy, suspense, drama. I mean, however you want to do it, just a complete horror movie. You could do any of those. You absolutely could remake it and do it completely different, which is what I hope we do. So that's my answer.
So
All right.
basically, you like it exactly how it was. You want, if it's to be remade, you want it to be remade completely different.
I will tell you, in terms of the way that this movie in particular was made and released, I don't think it's possible for any, and I'm saying any, I'm not saying it's just because I love it. I think it was extremely well executed for what it was trying to do. I don't think you can replicate that. You won't get the same caliber of cast. You won't get the same execution. You won't get the same follow through. It just won't be the same movie. There's no way you can duplicate it.
Does that include
Factor
the
of its
multiple
time, too.
endings?
No, I think the multiple endings you could.
Okay.
That's definitely you could apply that. I'm just saying, it seems simple, the plot, but if you really go back and look at it. It's
It's
very
intricate.
interwoven. It's very complicated. And I think all these pieces, for me, came into place kind of perfect. I don't know if you could redo it. You could try. Go find another 8 comedians or 6 comedians that are really funny and have somebody heading it up. I guess you could try, but I don't see it. But I also don't want anybody to mess with my movie.
Your masterpiece.
My masterpiece. That's right. I said it. I mean,
Okay, before we get too deep into the redoing this,
Okay.
you got one group of movie comedy friends. You know, there's a number of different little pockets. Just pick one of them real quick. The Seth Rogen, James Franco group, or the Adam Sandler, Chris Rock, Kevin James group.
to
The SNL crowd.
neither one is. Can I just not
No,
have it?
no, pick one.
I
Just
don't
pick one.
I'd rather just never see this movie.
Pick one.
If I had to pick out of that group, probably Sandler. I don't like many of James Franco and Seth Rogen's movies. I like more of Sandler than I do Rogen. So,
I like old Sandler, but I don't like new Sandler. So I would.
well, he
go
did
with,
say I had to specify which time frame.
I would go with James
so
Franco. Oh, if we're going current, I'd go with James Franco and Seth Rogen. If we're gonna go
Still
from
wouldn't.
back in the '90s or so, then I would go with Sandler.
I still wouldn't go with them. They made one movie out of their 12 that I really liked. So, no, I'd pass.
I have a soft spot for James Franco. I like Seth Rogen too, though.
Kevin James got a soft spot for cheesecake. Let's move on. All right, here we go. Let's get to our remake. But first, we've got another clip from the masterpiece.
You've got blood on your hands.
I didn't do it! He's got new injuries. Well, he's certainly dead now. Why would anyone want to kill him twice?
Seems so unnecessary.
That's what we call overkill. It's what we call a psychotic.
Unless he wasn't dead before.
What's the difference?
That's what we're trying to find out! We're trying to find out who killed him, and where, and with what.
There's no need to shout.
I'm not shouting! All right, I am! I'm shouting! I'm shouting! I'm shouting!
See? It just screams awesome. Here's what we know about the intended remake right now. There's the potential Clue remake has been bandied about for years. Universal was going to do it. Then they kind of kicked it to the curb and did Battleship instead. That worked out great. So we could have had we could have had Taylor Kitsch in a Clue movie. That could have been great.
Not likely. Not likely.
Okay. Still would have flopped. Gore Verbinski wanted to produce and direct a Clue movie a few years back. Still hasn't moved forward. It is inevitable, but as of right now, people are still trying to figure out the right story to tell. So I think we should help lead the way. What do you think?
Yeah, you think we're gonna get noticed?
Yeah, this is where we make our millions.
Oh,
this
yeah?
This is where it happens. Okay, since Clue is definitely going to remake it because no one listens to us, how should they remake it? And before we get to that, we have to mention what our nostalgic moments are going to be. Now, Amanda, you said it was a 3. Brian, what did you say in terms of a classic 1 through a 5? Where did you rate it?
I'll give it a 2.
Whoa.
Okay, well, I give it a 5, so that's about a 3.5. So we at least got 3 nostalgic moments we got to have. So here are our 3 moments. These are basically what nods to the original movie need to be in a remake, regardless of what concept we use. 1, there has to be multiple endings. That's number 1. Everybody agrees on that. Number 2, you have to have the characters from the game, rooms, and the weapons. And number 3, somewhere in there, you got to have 1 + 2 + 2 + 1. Somehow.
All right.
Doesn't really matter how you do that. You can pretty much incorporate that any way you want to do it.
I mean, if you don't have the names and the weapons and the rooms, is it Clue?
No, but my favorite thing is endings came in first. Names and characters and weapons and stuff came at number 2. Multiple endings came in ahead of that in a movie called Clue. Just think about that.
I really like
That's
the
how cool that
concept.
concept is.
And it hasn't been. Like Brian was saying, I don't think it's been done. I mean, it
It
hasn't been
certainly
released.
hasn't been done as well,
Yeah,
Amanda,
it hasn't been released in theaters that way.
because this is a masterpiece. Now let's
Oh
get
my
to the
goodness.
remake.
Let's get off that.
Let's get to the remake.
Wow.
Who's got the first?
You're worse. You're worse than Amanda and Nathan Fillion. I'm just
I
saying.
thought about bringing him into this. Let me tell you.
He could be Colonel Mustard. Who's the fat one? He could be that
Hey,
one.
be gentle.
Nathan Fat Fillion. All right. Well,
Stop that right now.
I'm sure
I will badmouth
he is
this
working
masterpiece if
Right
you
now.
ever don't ever talk about
Keep
him
this
like
in
that.
mind because we
We
have
could just
to.
recast him as Professor Ham Sandwich.
You both are dead to me.
It sure would be Professor Plum because that's a fruit. Those are healthy.
Exactly. That's healthy. You actually lose weight.
All right. Well,
Oh.
keep this in mind because
I love you, Nathan.
we have to talk. Yeah, he's listening. We have to talk about who the characters are. That's a part of our movie. So remember that we have Colonel Mustard, Professor Plum, Miss Scarlet, Miss White. Is it Miss White or Mrs. White?
Mrs. White.
Okay,
Remember,
Mrs.
her
White.
husband's a nuclear whatever.
Oh, nuclear physicist. That's right. Well, in the movie. Okay. Mr. Green, Mrs. Peacock. The weapons were rope, revolver, wrench, lead pipe, candlestick, knife. The rooms are hall, lounge, which has a secret passage that leads to the conservatory, dining room, kitchen, which has a secret passage that leads to the study, ballroom, billiard room, and library. So now we know all that stuff. Because somebody, I'm sure, is listening going, I don't remember. Now you know. And if you get the new versions, there's a spa.
Yeah.
Why the heck
And if
do
you're
you need a
me
spa?
and you're the one shuffling the cards, then a room is going to be used as a weapon.
Two rooms and a person.
Two rooms and a person.
That's how you win at Clue, right there. Stack the deck. So who's got the first idea about our new Clue? How are we going to remake this?
Well, apparently Amanda plays the Sopranos version.
She likes it very dark.
Just putting buildings on top of people.
I don't remember what it was, but I know that the spa was involved. Oops.
The spa was dropped apparently on another player. Let's try this way. What time frame do we want to set it in? Do we want to go in the past like this one, like the original movie was, or do we want to go current day? Do we want to go in the future? What do we want to do?
I don't want to do the future, I can tell you that.
Like Minority Report, where they prevent the murder? I know it's going to be Miss Scarlet in that hall tomorrow. So how do we want to do it? Today? Modern day?
I would say modern for me.
Okay. Brian, you cool with modern day?
I'm cool with modern, but you have to come up with a device that eliminates the technology aspect of it. Cell phones, anything like that.
That's super easy. If they're just in like more of a secluded area, because let me tell you, Verizon
They have
does
to
not
be in a
cover.
mansion.
Yeah, Verizon does not cover every area. So basically, just go to like Janesville, Wisconsin, and they won't have service.
Totally random city. All right. Random city number
Just
one. There you go.
just from my experience.
Remote area, but it's got to be a mansion because you got to have all these
Right.
rooms in it. So
I mean, as far as the house goes, what about a beach house?
we're listening. Go on. Carry on.
Okay, almost like in the Keys or something where you've got maybe like a hurricane that's coming in, or if nothing else, just a really bad storm. We can still keep the storm element from the movie, but something like that would keep them. A hurricane would pretty much keep them inside the house.
Hurricane.
So like basically a beach house that's very secluded. And the
Super
storm,
nice,
storm is what's
Yeah,
going to
I mean-
knock out the power or something. Well, not the power, but I don't know. Then, because most beach houses, you're going to have good cell phone service.
So what brings them? Okay, I'm okay with the beach house so far. I mean, there's no reason to get away from that. And I don't have necessarily my idea was very similar to what
it could be
already happened.
I mean, it could be in California. It could be in the Hamptons or the Outer Banks of like North Carolina have a lot of secluded
love
areas
North
and
Carolina.
places that do not have very good cell phone coverage.
Let's
So-
go with North Carolina.
I
That's
like
not
North Carolina.
Yeah, that's not something that's done very
beautiful.
often. It's beautiful, and they do get hurricanes, so we could use a hurricane. Mm-hmm. Nice beach house. Amanda, what's an idea? What brings our cast of unnamed foes and their pseudonyms to this house? Party, or they're duped into coming?
I don't want to do. I don't know.
That's what we need a reason for them to all be there and to not know who each other are. Is that their real names? Do we just go with, hey, you're actually Professor Plum, you're actually Miss Scarlet, you're actually Mrs. White? They just happen to all have color names.
No, because then it would be weird if they're wearing the color of their name, and I really like the idea of them wearing the color.
Like
of
they
their
show
name.
up in the color and that's how they get their name?
That's fine with me. I mean, if that's how it is, or if they get like some invitation to, maybe not like a party, like teenage party kind of party, but like a more glamorous type party, more sophisticated. So they get an invitation to this party, or they think it's going to be a party, and maybe it's still kind of like we're luring you here.
Old people say soiree.
And then they're told to wear, this is your name for the party. It's like a masquerade ball or something. I don't know. And they wear the color of their name.
Or they could all meet at breakfast at some weird restaurant in North Carolina, and they're all hired to do, they're all criminals, and they all hired to do a job. And then maybe one of them doesn't want to tip the waitress. And then maybe somebody gets their ear cut off with...
I like this movie. Yeah, I like that song.
I don't know.
Michael Madsen could be in this, right? He'd be good in this. I think this is his kind of movie. I like the beach house. I don't necessarily like the masquerade. And remember, everybody has a cut. So if you don't like one person's story idea, you yell cut, and you can replace it with whatever you want.
All I know is that I want their outfits to match their name. So I want Mrs. White to wear white, not black.
How about this? They all come to this beach house, and they're there before the hurricane really hits. They're not trapped yet. When they get there, they basically, the person that greets them, whoever we determine that is, assigns them a name based on their color of whatever they're wearing. So they are Miss Scarlet, Colonel Mustard, etc.
He keeps saying, ooh.
What?
All right.
What, you gonna spit it out there, Chief, or what?
I'm like Horshack over here, raising my hand.
Hey, Mr. Carter.
Mr. Carter. Oh. What if these people are under the assumption, these random people that think it's a spa? They think it's some sort of resort, some sort,
Like you want a free vacation or something?
Right. Like,
Ooh.
yeah, you've been invited to this grand opening of this spa, just good, whatever. The invitation's for one person, whatever the case is. The note is worded to where basically it tells them only you can come, not your significant other, or, this is good for only one person.
That'll go over well.
I mean, I don't know. I mean,
I'm sure there's some husbands that wouldn't be going.
Yeah.
Right. Come with us. It's secluded. You can blah, blah, blah. Then all of a sudden, when they start seeing some of the other people showing up, things start going crazy.
I'm with that. I'm okay with that. What's the real reason that they're there? Why have they been duped into getting there? That's really where it gets complicated. Like, there's got to be a connection for all of them.
Right.
To get them there. They invite them all individually. They come. They're assigned. Are we all good with that? They're assigned their name based on the color of whatever they're wearing. They just happen to be wearing green. They just happen to be wearing white. They just happen to be wearing scarlet, so on and so forth. So that way it makes sense. It isn't ridiculous.
Oh, I mean, then you still have to, I don't know, my mind would look at the movie and then I'd be like, well, how did two of you just happen to not wear red? Or how did two of you just happen to not wear white?
Because it's called Clue. That's why.
I'm really fine with their last names being these absurd, crazy colors.
And they just
animals.
happen to wear the colors of their names.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's got a purple tie, or I mean, Mrs. White. She's going to this spa, this beach area. She's got those white linen clothes that flow in the wind and stuff like you see on the medication commercials. That kind of stuff.
I'm all right with that. That probably makes more sense, I guess, than Professor Plum dressing up like the Joker. Yeah.
Right.
All right. So what is the reason? We have to have a good reason. Why did everybody assemble at this Hurricane Beach House? Why did someone bring them there? Who's got the idea? I'm thinking these are all people in the business world. You put an idea in my head because you brought up Reservoir Dogs. Subtly, by the way. Real subtle.
Yeah, I'm sneaky like that.
And you kind of put an idea in my head because you said Michael Madsen. He did a TV show I used to love called Vengeance Unlimited, where he played Mr. Chapel. And Mr. Chapel basically, he found people that had been wronged by somebody, and those people got away with it. And then he went after those people and basically avenged them through other ways and got vengeance on them.
Got revenge for the other people.
So what if we have a character that assembled all these people to bring them all here because they're all bad people.
Right.
And they've all done nefarious things to other people that he is basically trying to help. So he brings them there, and then once he gets them there, his plan is to either expose them or frame them or maybe even kill them. I don't know.
Or have them kill each other. I'm okay with that idea. I like it.
Yeah, I'm following. Like, you've mentioned the show before, but I don't remember watching it.
I'm the only one that watched it. Don't stress that.
Fair enough. That's an idea.
Well, are we okay with continuing with this idea that they're all bad people?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right now.
How about, well, I have some ideas for the people, for what we have to, I feel like we should still keep one person who is completely innocent in the Clue characters. Like
one of the Clue characters has to be an innocent?
Yeah.
Like he actually couldn't help what happened. It wasn't really their direct fault.
He doesn't do anything wrong there. Like, let's say whatever he did that brought him there was just a very minor crime or something, so it wasn't anything serious.
Or a misunderstanding.
Or he was wrongly.
Or in the vein, kind of tie both of your ideas together, you do have one innocent who maybe is the son or daughter of the person that organized this. And then basically this is a giant setup so that this person can witness the justice being done to all these other characters.
Okay, and how was the plan to get the justice? Just to bring them all there and make them face what they've done, that kind of thing, and then they turn on the person that brought them there and kill him?
I like the idea of them being turned against each other, but the person that brought them there not doing anything. Like not actually killing anybody
Pulling
themselves.
the strings, but almost like the devil's advocate, where they make their own choices and do their own violence or what have you.
They put the pieces together so that way this person does this to so-and-so.
Right.
Like,
they're just pawns for the chess master, so to speak.
so this character, whomever it may be, that person...
The chess master.
Yeah.
The clue master.
The clue master is basically going to... They want revenge, obviously, or they want the wrongs righted. So they get everybody there. They lure everyone there.
And they set up their accomplices. Those are our victims. They bring in the people that helped them with whatever they did, and they're there too in a different area than they kind of like similar maybe to the clue movie. That way you have somebody that gets killed. You have to have people that get killed, right?
Unless
Right.
the characters get killed, the clue characters.
I don't know. Do you want to kill your main character? It kind of makes the mystery a lot easier if you only got one person left.
No, I'm saying like not everybody dies, but like one person dies, and then that sets up like, let's say for example, Green was he was a homosexual in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that was his secret because that would destroy his career.
Well, now it gets you noticed. I mean, now you can get a
Right.
ETV show if you...
Right. So
Go
maybe
through-
his reason is something else. Say he goes after somebody, he kills somebody while he's there because they were involved in his life in some aspect, and like let's say that this person had a relationship with his boyfriend or husband or whomever it may be. So he goes and kills that person. Well, then the person that he kills is related to another clue character, and so then they all kind of start turning on each other and feuding. But there's one person in this whole scenario that just doesn't get their hands dirty, and that's the chess master. Does that make sense?
Maybe.
We can
I
cut
think
that
so.
entire thing out if you need to.
I'm lost, I think.
I feel like this is one of those plots that we really haven't had this issue so far in doing these episodes, but this is one of those plots that you just about need like a giant chalkboard or white erase board
Pretty much.
to where you go, okay, here's where this person is.
Okay, so you got
Alright.
I'm doing this a little bit. So I've got the clue master on one side, then you've got the characters that he orchestrated to come into this beach house.
While you're doing that, I'm going to
Okay.
give an example from the actual Clue movie that already happened to kind of help you guys understand what I'm saying. So, for example, say
I
Green...
think she just called us stupid, by the way.
No, it's just I'm really bad at explaining things sometimes.
Really felt like calling us
Yeah,
stupid.
you
Maybe
can just
I'm
call
the
me
stupid
dummy. It's a
one.
lot shorter.
So maybe, like, for example, let's say that Mrs. White would be the undercover cop. And then Green kills Yvette, who is in the sexy French maid outfit, because she was...
So far, I'm cool with that.
She was a hoe, and she had a relationship with his boyfriend or husband, whatever it may be. And then since Scarlet was her boss, Scarlet goes after Green and tries to kill him.
and
Do you
they're
see what I'm
all
saying?
connected? Is
So
that what
they're
you're
all
saying?
connected to each other in some way, and there's a couple random people there that start the domino effect.
Right. That's exactly the comparison of it. It's just a domino effect of, okay, bam, we
Right. We get this one
tap this
going.
one, right. We
Mhm.
knock this one down, and then all of a sudden, this person gets ticked off because of this, goes after this one, then this person gets ticked off, going for
Right.
revenge or to help, whatever the case is, however you want to concoct the story.
And the chess master basically plants these items or people or whatever it may be to start this, because they either want everybody dead or they want their revenge or they
This
want them to
actually-
be remorseful or something.
This actually could tie in with the board game because it's kind of like checking the names off of the game so you know who did it,
Yeah.
right? One by one, you're checking them off. It wasn't that person. It wasn't that person. If they're the one that gets killed, then they obviously didn't do it, or they're not very good at it.
But there's the initial kill, but then everybody
But
kind of...
one person has to be innocent because they're the ones that go after the killer at the end, basically.
Right. But and this is just a proposal. You guys can turn it down real easy, and I'm
This
not
isn't
going
a
to fight on
business.
it.
You don't have to do a proposal.
But let's say that the chess master or the clue master, whatever you want
I
to call
like
it.
Clue Master. It's
Clue
kind of cool.
Master.
It's catchy.
Okay. Let's say that the clue master is actually one of the clue characters. So it's white or mustard or plum or scarlet. So they get assigned a name of the, of the clue colors, but they're completely innocent and they're just there to get everything going.
So they are the clue master?
Yes, one of them.
One of the so you get basically two people you're trying to figure out. You're trying to figure out who's the clue master and who's the killer.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Brian, what do you think of that? Now I kind of understand what she was talking about. It took about 45 minutes.
Yeah, sorry.
Are we still along the lines of we've got an innocent person here that the clue master basically is help enacting his or her revenge for?
Well, her idea is you take that innocent person is also the clue master themselves.
Yeah.
Like the one innocent person that we don't know who it is until the very end is also the person that actually
has been pulling all the
this.
strings.
I'm cool with that.
But that person isn't just a random person. They have one of the clue character names. So they either
like Mr. Green, just because of the movie, he was Mr. Green. That was the innocent one.
Right.
So he's orchestrated bringing all those people there, whoever we choose. And then he's innocent, but he's also not so much. I mean, he's setting it up because he wants to bring all of these nefarious people together.
But he pretends to be like he's
there with
lured,
them.
Yeah.
He's been lured,
and then,
lured too.
Say that the hostess or whomever it's going to be, the person that's running this spa, beach house thing, whatever, they're also somebody who did something wrong, but they've been assigned to attend and say that they get told, in their invitation once they arrive or something, that there's like a note for them that they're the one there's the first person there and they have to do the hosting. So they're the first person to arrive.
I don't know who these people are. Now you're just adding people, and I don't know what that means.
So one of the people that is told to come at an earlier time so that way they can be the host, because the person who's a clue master is not going to want to be the host because then it looks like they're the ones who invited them there.
Oh, I see.
So they need to be able to show up just like every other character, and the person who is the host has no choice in being the host. Once they get there, there's like a note for them with their name. This is who you are, and
this is your role to play, so
right.
to speak.
Yeah. Am I making things too complicated?
That part is too complicated, I think. Yeah.
Okay.
You don't necessarily need someone guiding them. You can our clue piece, whoever it is, Scarlet, Green, whoever, that has actually set all of this up, orchestrated it ahead of time. So that people get there, they don't know what's going on. They have to figure it out themselves, as opposed to in the movie where they had somebody leading them through it. They would actually have to put this together themselves. So each character kind of would have to go through the house and find the rooms and slowly find out what's going on as they get picked off one by one until the very end when our innocent one faces off with the killer.
So then they can just have like little notes or something, like a sealed envelope with Scarlet listed on it, and then that can be their...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Brian, what do you want to add to this? What do you got?
Because I'm just rambling.
She is kind of rambling at this point.
I was just sitting there just thinking about being on the porch of this beach house, watching the tide just roll in and out. But
so really, you're just thinking about the ocean.
I'm just wishing I was at the beach. That's all.
So I'm either boring you or I'm relaxing you. I'm not sure which way to take it. A little bit of both.
Just go with relaxing. For the most part, this is coming together nicely. It almost feels like a really long episode of Revenge. Or
I've never watched Revenge.
I loved that show.
I kind of like this quote-unquote innocent person.
And
I'd say we move on. How deep into the details do we want to go here?
How do we incorporate the weapons? Just have them in separate rooms? Just have them in various rooms? The people that get killed by these various weapons?
Like a weapon per room, like already planted?
Well, I mean, like you're going to have, like, whenever, let's say Mrs. White gets killed, or Miss White, whichever.
Mm-hmm.
Mrs. White. I forgot whichever one it was. I can't remember where she is in her state of divorce.
Married.
Okay, she's married. Mrs. White gets killed in the conservatory with a candlestick. And that sort of thing. So the people are killed with the weapons from the game.
Right.
Yeah.
All right.
That has to be done. Otherwise, it's not a Clue
Right.
movie.
It's part of the nostalgia.
I mean, it's just part of the brand. I mean, we're using Clue brand. It's not, oh, they were killed with the frying pan or the dog or something. Well, wait a minute, that's Monopoly. That's, we can't do that.
Now, do you think in terms of the crimes that bring them there, should it be one central issue, one central thing that everybody was involved in? Like one,
Ooh, like one big...
Like somebody's child died and all these people are connected to some degree? Or should it be
you could
various
have
crimes?
Yeah, one of these people could be...
The lawyer.
For instance, maybe it was this innocent person. It was their sibling or something like that.
Or if it's somebody who was convicted and was served the death penalty, but they were innocent. And this was a family member. The clue master is a family member of the person who was wrongfully killed.
The only thing with that is that everybody would know what they look like, unless you had like some kind of facial reconstructive.
Right. If this person was a sibling and they were 10 years old or 11 years old at the time, and now we fast forwarded 10 years, they could arrange for the judge to be in, or even longer. You know, maybe the judge that ruled on it.
The defense attorney.
You know,
it's like that Gerard Butler movie, but cooler.
But everybody, because nobody knows that they're all going there at the same time. So once they all arrive, they're maybe that kind of piques their interest, and they're like, "Why are we all here?" And then they're forced to stay there.
I like that. And then
because
they're
of
forced,
the storm.
Yeah, I like that. And then you don't need somebody introducing because they all know.
Yeah, they all know who each other are.
They know the common thread.
Yeah, but I like the idea that each person only knows who maybe one or two of the other people are.
Yeah, it doesn't know everybody.
Because if a person walks in and goes, "Okay, I know you, and you," oh crap, I'm in trouble.
But it's all people who maybe their testimonies help put this person listed as guilty. And
you know what? Maybe not that, because it'd be really hard pressed to have people involved where somebody was wrongly convicted and then sentenced to death and they never saw that family member. But if you had somebody who was arrested, set up, framed, put through the system, multiple people were involved in framing them for whatever reason, maybe whatever it is, and then were killed prior to the trial, that would be a reason why the sibling, like a brother or sister, would never have attended, because they didn't get in, like they were overseas or something. They didn't get back in time. And by the time they got back, their brother or sister was already dead. You know what I mean? So they weren't able to help them or something, and the system had already failed. So the judge is involved because they were paid, and lawyers were involved, and the cop was involved, and that sort of thing.
I like it.
Okay.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with it.
What's the crime? Like, what was the person wrongly accused of?
Let's go with some simple murder, maybe.
Well, you got to have multiple people connected. So maybe a robbery and a murder. Like they were robbing a business, and actually somebody, I don't know, some highfalutin business person was actually embezzling money. This person found out, knew that they were going to report him, so they framed him for that, and also framed him for a murder at the same time, and all these people were involved.
What if we go with something minor, relatively speaking minor, that had its own domino effect of tragedies that eventually led to whatever pushed this person over the edge? Somebody parent lost a job, which caused them to have money problems. They had to move out of their house.
So the person that fired dad would be involved in it.
Right. And then so mom and dad fight, as many parents do, over money, divorced, or maybe dad killed mom, or vice versa, or now they're maybe a little destitute, and then brother starts doing drugs, picks up a drug habit, overdoses.
I'm going to call it cut, because I think now we're getting too far into that's not a serious enough reason to bring all these people here. I mean, yeah, it's sad and it sucks, but I don't know if that's enough reason to bring all these people here and actually still sympathize with the reason that they're being brought. I'm going to call cut and say, let's stick with that idea where somebody basically is wrongly accused of embezzling and also of murder, just basically so that somebody else can be cleared of it, one of the other business people that are there. And then they're basically killed or kill themselves before they can go to trial.
Ooh.
We keep the reason simple while we get complicated with all the other stuff.
There you go. Boom. By the end of the movie, whoever's bringing them there, which characters are going to bring them there? Pick a character. You want it to be Mr. Green? So, well, that's too easy because that's right in line with the original.
Scarlet.
Okay, so Miss Scarlet's the sister of a brother who ended up killing themselves before they could ever go to trial. So Miss Scarlet is the one that brings them all there. Who ends up being our murderer? Which color sounds like murder?
Well, red, but Scarlet's going to be the good one.
Which is the irony there. So how about Mrs. White?
Sure.
Because white seems clean. Nah?
Mm-hmm.
Nah?
We can go with that. Ooh, oh.
What? Don't ooh and then oh?
No,
What?
I was just thinking that could actually work pretty well with the character I had thought of, but I'd kind of put her in a different place. Anyway, move on.
Tone, are we going serious thriller, I assume?
We can still have some dark humor in there, but more serious thriller.
Some real subtle nods to the original, so it kind of a remake as well? As its own thing?
It can't be serious the entire time. There's still got to be some humor, because all of these people that are going to...
everybody die except the two characters, Scarlet and White? So basically White kills the other four?
I'm down with it.
Or kills 3, and then you got 2 left, and then Scarlet figures out it's White, and then off goes the last person. Well, because you're only going to have 6 characters, so the other people got to die, son.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. All right. And while you guys weren't aware, we actually determined who's going to direct and star in our movie. Peter Berg is going to direct it because he's got a lot of history with really sadistic thrillers like Very Bad Things. And our Miss Scarlet is going to be played by Gemma Arterton. And Mrs. White, that's right, Mrs. I'm still confused with her marital status. Mrs. White is going to be played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus, which that'll be interesting because that will throw people off, I think, quite a bit.
Do you just want her to be divorced or something? I feel like you don't want her to be married.
I don't know why. I just feel like she should be a miss. I don't know. I just don't know why. Now, Brian, you had a question in terms of style or tone or production or something.
Yeah, I was thinking, what if we went with the one camera aspect similar to Birdman, where basically the camera follows around whoever has the lead part in the scene or whatever at the time, and it just keeps moving around from person to person and location to location. And the reason why I suggest this is because this would lend to the mystery of who was in the room and not in the room at the time of
I gotcha.
Fill in the blanks of whatever events. Because you have that perspective of the conversation with person A and person B, but then person C.
But then there's parts that you don't know.
Exactly.
Because person A was having a conversation here, so you didn't get to see person D's conversation.
You can't see that person C is running from one room to the other room carrying a candlestick or what have you.
Is there going to be like a recap towards the end then?
If we stick with the multiple endings and stuff, I think that would play nicely with that.
Oh,
I think,
now, how do you do multiple endings when we already have established who the characters are? We could do different endings without it being different killers.
Well, it doesn't have to always be the same. You could have just different, almost the same ending, but different possible outcomes.
Maybe the killer stays the same, but the person who was the clue master is different. So I
don't think you could do that because the movie would have to end with different people living and different people dying.
You would have to start the reset button, so to speak, earlier in the movie instead of the last.
Then the last portion.
5 or 6 minutes.
We could have different outcomes in terms of who lives and who dies.
Yeah, that's kind of what I like that idea.
Or different weapons and that sort of thing. So which room the climax happens in, who actually dies in that room, in one ending a character might live, another ending a different character might die, that sort of thing. Or the hero dies in one ending and the killer lives in one ending. So there's different ways we could definitely change that up.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Man, we got a movie. Son.
We've been all over the board, if you know what I'm saying. But
wow. Wow.
We're there.
All right, how about our last clip from the masterpiece?
Masterpiece.
I said it. The masterpiece. Our last memory before our fantastic movie comes out that hopefully makes sense by this point. Here we go.
Are you a cop?
No, I'm a plant.
A plant? I thought men like you were usually called a fruit.
Very funny. FBI. That phone call from J. Edgar Hoover was for me. I told you I didn't do it. All right, who done it?
You did.
That one lady right there. They all did it. But if you want to know who killed Mr. Body, I did. In the hall. With the revolver. Okay, Chief, take him away. I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.
Come on, that's brilliant. I don't know what the heck.
I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.
All right, well, we lost the comedy edge. We lost all of that. We kind of came up with a really creepy, eerie thriller where everybody dies except 2 people. And in some ending, they all die. I don't know. Maybe in one ending, everybody dies.
Ooh, they all turn on each other.
No, they just can't change the entire movie. I'm saying at the very end, the hero and the villain end up killing each other.
It's just a battle royal to the death.
Suddenly it's an Asian film. I don't know what I'm... All right, well, what we do have is we have this movie brought to you in movie trailer form by Wayne Henderson, courtesy of MediaVoiceovers.com. So, Wayne, please tell us our Clue movie makes sense. I can't wait to hear it. Here you go.
6 guests are summoned to the beachfront estate known as Hill House on the secluded shores of the Outer Banks North Carolina. Lured by the promise of a stress-free weekend, they are soon to discover they are actually pawns in a game of mystery, deceit, and murder. As a hurricane approaches and the rope tightens on our guests, Peter Berg lights up the candlestick and cranks up the heat in the kitchen for his latest directorial entree as he brings everyone's favorite board game to life. What is Hill House? Why are bodies dropping like flies? Who is the twisted mind behind it all? And why are there always so many questions? Mysterious weapons, hidden passages, and a secret worth dying for all lead you to the answers you're seeking and the promise of an ending everyone will love. Miss Scarlet, Mr. Green, Mrs. Peacock, Colonel Mustard, Mrs. White, and Professor Plum. All of your favorites are here. So join us next year as we try to find out who's killing whom, and where, and with what. Only this time, the game is real. Clue.
Oh,
Hell yeah! How about
That's what
that
I like.
enthusiasm?
I wonder who done it. That's all I care about. Okay, guys. Well, what do you think? Did we nail it, or did we go completely off the rails? You tell me. Tell us. Can't wait to hear. You can email your short pitch or thoughts. I think this one is open to a lot of different ideas, so I'm looking forward to hearing some of your ideas. Please keep them to about a paragraph. Some people are writing book reports. I'd love to read them all, but I really got to keep it, somewhat simple. So keep it to about a paragraph. Email them to remakethismovieright@gmail.com. It's remakethismovieright@gmail.com. Or if you have a better casting idea, we'd love to hear that too. We might mention your pitch in our next teaser episode. Review us on iTunes. Thumbs up on Stitcher if you listen there. Be sure to throw us in your podcast app of choice. Wayne Henderson is available at mediavoiceovers.com. He also does the Packers Fan Podcast. Amanda Sink, thanks for coming here.
Not a problem. Thanks for having me back.
Brian Williams, thanks for being here.
Always fun.
It is always fun. You can always find links for these guys in the show notes. And we have a Remake This Movie Right Facebook group, as well as a The Hollywood Outsider Facebook group. It's not just for fans of the show. It's for anybody who likes to talk about movies. So hop on over there and join up. The link is in the show notes. Remember, we have our teaser episode, and all that does is basically in between our normal episodes where we talk about all the feedback from you guys, as well as any remake news, and we tease the very next episode. That's going to do it for this episode of Remake This Movie Right. And the next movie you watch, remember, guys, it will get a remake someday, and only you can make it better. Now I'm going to go home and sleep with my wife.
Ugh.
My face is on fire.
Flames! Flames! On the side of my face! Heaving breaths. Wait, are you still here? Oh, man. I guess you're probably wanting something else. Well, I suppose, in true and fair Clue tradition, we should give an alternate trailer. Don't you think? I think we should. Well, you already heard Wayne's version of the events, so I think maybe it's time you heard what really happened. Take a listen to our alternate trailer for Clue. Good evening, and welcome to Hill House. My name is Wadsworth, and I'll be your butler on this little excursion. I was to entertain you all this evening, but unfortunately it seems that our festivities have come down with a horrible case of murder.
What do you mean? Murder.
I mean murder. 6 guests were invited to Hill House this evening, and they each arrived amidst this terrible hurricane. 6 random guests who were assigned odd names like Miss Scarlet and Mrs. White, Mrs. Peacock, Professor Plum, Mr. Green, and even Colonel Mustard. What an odd name. This house is a virtual mansion of sorts. There are secret passages everywhere, and there seem to be weapons randomly scattered about, as though this were planned.
Wadsworth, am I right in thinking there is nobody else in this house?
No.
Then there is someone else in this house.
No, I'm sorry. I meant no meaning yes.
No meaning yes? Look, I want a straight answer. Is there someone else, or isn't there? Yes or no?
No?
No, there is, or no, there isn't?
No. So, I'm not sure what happened, but bodies have started dropping like flies. Now we are all trapped in this house with a killer. We're all scared, and now we're desperately trying to find out who's killing who, and where, and with what.
There's no need to shout.
I'm not shouting. Alright, I am. I'm shouting. Never mind. The point is, this feels like some sort of poppycock board game sprung to life. I'm terribly afraid that this might be the last time I speak to you, any of you. So please see if you can identify my killer. All you need is for me to deliver to you one single clue.
Da-da-da-da-da. I am your singing telegram.